Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to South by Southwest EDU here in wonderful Austin. We brought out the beautiful weather for you for this visit. My name is Jerry Lashley. I'm the director of the Texas Education Exchange, which is housed at the Region 4 Education Service Center in Houston, Texas. I have with me Mr. Jeff Pendill. Jeff?
My name is Jeff Pendill. I am the Technical Project Manager for CCMR Insights at Region 10, but CCMR Insights will be a state initiative.
And I'm Jennifer Duncan, the Communications Specialist for the Texas Education Exchange. So we want to start with a poll. So if you could grab your phones, use the QR code there. We want to know what obstacles you find when using student data. So we see a lot of those answers coming in. Timely. Timely is big. Access. So we'll give you a few more seconds to work on this. So access seems to be the biggest contender here, which I think we all know, we've all experienced in some degree. And we're going to talk a lot about access and interoperability today.
Ready?
Sorry,
all
guys,
right.
You can keep voting though.
So I have CCMR Insights. It's a project that was started probably about, I believe, 4 or 5 years ago with Michael Susan Dell Foundation and the Ed Alliance with Dallas Commit. At some point, they showed it to Region 10, and we asked too many questions and got brought into the project. So today, our contributing partners are EdFi, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. We're still partners with Dallas Commit. We work with a couple of CIS right now, Skyward and Focus. Region 10 and the Michael Susan Dell Foundation have helped this project get started and continue as it is today. So the goals of CCMR Insights are to improve LEA's accountability rating, help districts maximize funding and student support, and real-time data affecting current year students and tied directly to the LEA's student information system to increase data accuracy and timing. The big thing here is probably that number 2 and number 3, which is helping districts maximize their funding and real-time data. If you've ever dealt with CCMR Insights, the state of Texas is great at telling you how you're doing about a year to 2 years after the fact. So it's kind of like, how can we affect students in the current year? So this was really the big initiative behind CCMR Insights. So here's a sample from when we did our pilot programming and potential funding gains. As you can see, the first column is who the schools were. Second column's enrollment, and that's total enrollment, not their high school enrollment. Then you have their fiscal year 21 CCMR outcomes bonus. And then you have their fiscal year 21 CCMR maximum outcomes bonus. You saw that most everybody maximized their money, right? Not quite. There's a lot of money. That blue column is everything that was left on the table. It's still sitting at the state's coffers of money that was available to the districts. Luckily, that rolls over to the next year, so you have a chance to get it hopefully in the next year for those seniors. But for this year, that money is not gainable from that standpoint. So this is really the big piece here, is that we've got to find a way to maximize our funding and get this money in the hands of our LEAs so that they can put this money back not only into the CCMR program, which is required by state. They got to put 55% of that back into CCMR, but that means 45% is left to the LEA to use as needed. So here's some comments from our existing users of CCMR Insights. From Mesquite ISD, staff is able to see accurately where students are on their journey. In Crowley, it's easy to access and at a glance. So we'll have some screenshots later on so that you can actually see what it looks like from that standpoint. But I think you're all adults, so I'm not going to read all these to you. So here is our promo video.
Oftentimes, whenever you are in a support or an administrative role on a campus or at a district level, you spend more time in front of dashboards or spreadsheets than you do with students. And so you know that the real work to get students where they need to go, that real work has to happen up front, but then it also you actually have to talk to the kids, right? And so the beauty of what CCMR Insights has allowed us to do is it has provided us the information all in one concentrated space that we're able to get that out of the way, make practices and informed decisions, and then get to our students quicker. And ultimately, that's what we want.
I say promo, that was actually a testimonial. That is Travis Hill from Mesquite ISD, who has been in the pilot program and has this actually in production today. So this is what CCMR Insights looks like. So when a district comes on board, you'll see here there's their school, the senior class, and the year. This all goes down from, if there's multiple high schools, you'll be able to select amongst multiple high schools. And then, of course, the classification, senior, junior, sophomore, freshman. And then we're going to hold 5 years worth of data. So we'll go all the way back to 5 years back. We're not retrofitting this for anybody because the data was all over the place in previous years, so it's really hard to do so. So basically, when you come on board, we will start from that point. That will be what will ultimately be the 5th year. When that year finishes up, it'll drop off. But you have your A through F accountability here, and also Grand Bend ISD is doing awesome. They're at 93%. The TEA would really love that school district and stuff. But we also have our kids that are all the seniors. Then we have seniors that do not have any points. Then we have seniors that have points. Then we get into some social economic categorization. And then over on here is our HB3 outcomes bonus. So right now, Grand Bend is set to receive $105,000 if things ended right now for that district. The goal here is each school district starting, usually they'll start in November, but really when you get into January to February, everyone starts looking at this literally almost on a weekly basis as we update information. So here's where that's blown up a little bit better for you so you can see from that standpoint. Also, the other benefit to it is every one of these numbers here and even this slider, all those buttons are clickable. So everywhere where you see a number, not a percentage or a dollar amount, but where you see a number, those are clickable, and it will take you to the students that make up those numbers. So it's not just a number, it's the ability to get to the students that make up that number. Also down here, when we get onto our readiness indicators, we have our TSI, our college readiness, our career readiness. The dashboard also helps with understanding where kids are at. So here's a scenario where you have students with ACT Math, ACT English, where they rated at, and where their potential was. And also, if that number matches, that means they met. But if that number is lower and the number in the parentheses is a little bit higher, that's how close they were to passing that course. So trying to give you that quick visual to tell you where students are and where they can be helped. This is what we call basically the report card. So we have Jane Doe here, and it tells us all her demographics about her. Also tells us how she's doing on TSI. She's doing great on ACT. SAT, she's really close because it's in yellow here. She's close to passing her English and writing. You have her HB3 ready, tells you what she's ready in. Also on her A through F, tells you where she's met on AP, IB, and those things, dual credits. Then you have your AP courses. Then you have your dual credit courses and IBC courses. So this is basically that counselor's view of that student where they can say, here's where you're meeting, here's where you're not, and where they can start making informed decisions, as Travis said, on how to help that student get and meet the things for CCMR Insights. The big benefit to CCMR is with the interoperability of using EdFi, everybody is used to using Excel. And all 99% of the districts that use an Excel spreadsheet to track CCMR Insights, that is great the moment they put it on there, then it's out of date. Because things change. Everything changes daily. I've got districts that test for TSI every week. And you got kids that are getting grades put in, changing. They're doing college bridge. Did they pass? Did they fail? And all that stuff, you have to constantly update. 9 times out of 10, I ask who built your spreadsheet. And I ask them, how much time do you spend updating that spreadsheet versus how much time do you spend informing children of where they're at? 9 times out of 10, they'll tell you they spend more time getting that spreadsheet looking correctly and stuff. So with CCMR Insights, we're not getting rid of Excel. We're just taking the heavy lifting off your hand. So everything in CCMR Insights can be exported to Excel. But from here, we give you the ability we build those links from the SIS to the dashboard so you don't have to do that heavy lifting. We handle all the uplift there. The only thing that we still have a challenge with is our assessment data from TSI, AccuPlacer, ACT, and stuff of that sort. The district still has to upload that, but we're working on solutions to solve that for you also. And this is a growing dashboard. It's not, the way it is today is not the way it's going to be here in a couple weeks. We'll make some improvements to it and continue making it better from that standpoint. But this is how it works on a high-level architectural standpoint. You have the SIS, which we show here is skyward. You have the operational data source. Right today, that resides at Region 10. Future state, it will reside in the Texas Education Exchange AWS environment. Then we have our CCMR calculation engine. This runs currently today on a batch process. So as you do your work through the day, we get an upload at night. We process it through the calculation engine. You have an updated dashboard the next morning from that standpoint. Future state with the Texas Education Exchange, which Jerry will elaborate so kindly on here in just a few minutes, is where does CCMR Insights fits in here? We will just be like all the other applications that you have there. The difference is that this is run by an ESC. So the benefit there is we give a little bit more white glove treatment to our clients because they have trusted us and allowed us to do things for them. So we try to return the favor as much as possible. But as here you can see, we would be the same as an Eduphoria or DMAC or something of that sort. But the big purpose, this is where I should have put a clip in here from Jerry Maguire, show me the money, right? So this is the benefit to this dashboard versus a lot of dashboards you get. This dashboard has an ROI associated to it, which I showed you at the beginning. And the goal here is to run this. If you can increase your percentage by 1 to 2%, it pays for CCMR and it pays for other programs at your district. And that's the benefit to this dashboard that a lot of dashboards can't say. They all give you good information, but how many of them give you the possibility of making money back to your district? Not too many from that standpoint. And right now, the Texas legislature has not put an end to HB3. HB3 goes on from year to year to year. So until that happens, there's always money to be had for the districts by meeting the rules of CCMR Insights. As we know, the legislature likes to change those rules every so often, every 2 years pretty much, whenever they meet from that standpoint. So they've changed cut scores this year. They've done a modification to IBCs that we're keeping up with and stuff of that sort. And that's just in the first couple weeks of legislation. So we'll see where it falls out at the end. And what we talked about earlier, Region 10, we're friendly. Right now, you get to see this lovely face every time you call about CCMR Insights because I am Tier 1, Tier 2, and my boss is Tier 3 support for CCMR Insights. We help you roll everything out. We help you crosswalk your stuff. We also help you model and roll out plans. So we have this extensive Confluence site that gives you not only ideas of how to roll out and implement CCMR Insights. This is all you have to do is ask me to do a demo. I do a demo, and then I share it with you. And you get all this data for virtually just listening to me speak for about 30 minutes from that standpoint. And the other side to it is you're talking with people that deal with this stuff on a daily basis. And we help all our districts in our region. We'll help all the districts in the state with this and stuff. And this will be coming on to the next gen in the 20, actually I have a typo. It should be 24-25, not 23-24. But 23-24 will be parallel testing this with everything to go live in the 24-25 school year. And if you want to find out more about it, you can go to region10.org, CCMR/CCMR Insights. And there is an information button on there. If you push it, you'll get an email sent directly to me and I'll reach out to you, usually within a couple hours, asking to set up a demo and talk to you. So with that, I will turn it over to Jerry.
So now I'm going to talk about the Texas Education Exchange. Jeff gave you a really good example of an ESC product and a service that gives you a high ROI for what you're looking for at your school district. So what we were thinking about doing with the Exchange, I'm going to make sure I don't go to the video, is the Exchange, as you look at it, is a platform as a service. It's full data interoperability based on the EdFi data standards and the EdFi technology stack. So what we would do is we would provide an avenue for easy interoperability. If we're looking at some of the things that came up on your survey earlier when we first kicked this thing off, access was one of the big things. Access, looking at data siloed, data inefficiencies, those are the issues that we're looking to resolve for you at your school district, and also for the ESCs as a customer of the product itself and in providing the support. So that's ultimately what we're looking for, is to make this platform an efficient way at very low cost for school districts to get access to other platforms and services like CCMR Insights and the other products that you use at your district. There's a few others that are heavily used across the state. Region 7 has their DMAC product as another example. So it's simply economies of scale. It's lower operating cost for Region 10 and Region 7 and these other products, and working with software vendors to move things through our platform. And then that data is in one central location for use. And we have a nice video. This is our first time we're going to show this publicly for you here. So.
The Texas Education Exchange is a new data solution that provides real-time insights for education professionals across Texas. We know that disconnected systems lead to limited effectiveness in the classroom. In response, we're uniting data from disconnected sources in order to create better student outcomes. Educators and administrators have more to do now than ever. With data coming at them from every direction, it's difficult to know where to turn. So let's dig into how the exchange works. There's a host of technology aimed at solving these problems. From SIS platforms to assessment platforms, learning management tools, and many other applications, the Exchange will offer tools that draw from a unified warehouse for everyone, from regional service center leaders to educators. To make that happen, every piece of data has to adhere to a common language called a data standard. This standard sets the rules for how data should be formatted and exchanged between systems. It puts everything under the same roof so that users can securely get insights from the information and ultimately serve students better. When we say everyone, we mean the Exchange is built for professionals at all levels of the Texas public education system, from the state agency to educators in the classroom. IT experts, district administrators, and school principals will all benefit too. This is the power of a data standard. What's more, it will also automate the flow of data for more efficient state reporting to eliminate the hassle of annual data gathering.
Data standards make the world go round. Imagine your life without them. Every time you go to the store, you'd have to carry a wallet full of credit cards to anticipate the different types of card readers that are available. Fortunately, with a common set of data standards, your credit cards are available with just one machine. When it comes to education data, we use EdFi. EdFi is a set of rules for managing educational data that allows systems to share their information seamlessly. It's used by millions of educators across the country. The state of Texas is adopting EdFi so we can make better insights possible. Structurally, EdFi has two components. There's the EdFi individual ODS, a secure platform where all your information is stored. Then there's the EdFi API, which is an interface to create, read, and update data stored in the ODS. The API is the key to building user-centric applications that put the right data in front of the right people. There we go. Thank you, Jennifer. My job here is done. No. So EdFi, we hear a lot about EdFi. Teachers in the room, do you know what EdFi is? Have you used EdFi? Are you aware that you used EdFi? No one's raising their hand. So I ask that a lot whenever I do presentations. And in short, if you're a teacher and you do attendance, you're using EdFi. You just don't know you're doing it, and it runs in the background. So it's the data standard. Texas was the first. As you can see, we have a number of states. I'm not sure what the total count is at this point. But there's a number of states that have rolled out EdFi for state reporting. South Carolina as a whole has done that. Michigan is kind of our gold star, I refer to, so I have some friendly competition with that group up there on to who's going to do things at the next level. And there's 6 states that are currently migrating to new standards or rolling it out right now, Texas being one of them, with the new TSDS and state reporting system that they're going to have coming out for next year. So this is, it's growing a lot of momentum across the country. All eyes are technically on Texas right now and the education exchange to see what we're going to do, because we're doing well beyond state reporting with what we're trying to offer for the classrooms and for services. So whenever I had the idea for this, which started about 5 years ago, I was thinking that there'd be a really good way that we could roll this out for just our school districts at Region 4 as an extended service. And that quickly grew to, well, we're limited to just Region 4. We should think something on a statewide level. So as that process and those conversations developed, I knew that Region 4 itself could not support the entirety of the state. Over 1,200 school districts, more than, at this point, almost 5.6 million kids. So we knew with the impact of that and the amount of data and the number of systems that were here that we needed some support. So I reached out with my contacts across the states. Region 11 in Fort Worth, Region 10 in Dallas with their Insights product, Region 13 is here in Austin, and Region 20 in San Antonio. So the 5 largest ESCs in the state, we were already working with the EdFi tech space. We were familiar with it. We knew where we were trying to get the direction going. So TEA, the Texas Education Agency, heard about this about 2 years ago, my idea and what we were trying to do. And so we've partnered with them over the last couple of years. TEA provided the funding, essentially the seed funding as kickoff to get this up and going for the grant period, which ends in August of 2024. Other strategic partners, of course, the EdFi Alliance, there's a number of them that are in the room, and the Michael Susan Dell Foundation. Given the size and the complexity of this, it truly is taking a number of organizations and groups and state agencies, including TEA, in order to move this forward and to make it successful. So I saw 5 tenets that needed to be there with this platform. The first, it's a product made in Texas by us. It's for Texas school districts. It's not an out-of-the-box program, no slam to any of my competitors or what will be competitors for us over the next couple of years. It's just we wanted to make sure that the focus was here on Texas. And then, of course, you think of construction if you're building even a high-rise or your single-family home, the foundation is the key. And that's the EdFi technology stack and all the programming and everything on the back end so that we can build towards the future. Essentially, our possibilities are endless. We don't like to start that off with a conversation, but you truly can. And I want you to think about that as we're talking about this further. I want you to think about your pain points. What are your pain points with data? What are your issues? What are inefficient things that you're dealing with, technology and data-wise, that you wish you could have resolved? And we think that this is going to be the best platform to do that now and into the future. And then last and certainly not least is school districts in the state of Texas come to the ESCs. There's 20 of us. They come to us for almost all their support. Training, professional development, certifications, and they're used to coming to the ESCs. We have very tight relationships. We're the ones that support them in everything in all facets, and they reach out to us whenever there's a problem or an issue. So that trust is there, that respect is there, and that full collaboration. So we wanted this product to be supported with the current relationships that are in place. This is the simplified architecture. I didn't want to get too technical for the group. But for a school district, that far left column, that recognizes or that's representative of all your source systems that are used. Your student information systems, your learning management systems, Schoology, Google Classroom, your special education systems, transportation, child nutrition, everything that you have. Those are typically hosted by those product providers, and their data's all over the place. So what we will do is we'll take all that data from all these disparate solutions and where they're hosted and move them into that second column, that orange cylinder, which is operational data store, an ODS. TEA calls it an individual, so it's an IODS. The reason for that is with TEA's modernization efforts as they're going forward for state reporting, there's an individual operational data store set up for every school district and ESC in the state for state reporting purposes. So that data is in one location. I like to reference and say an IODS is, you think of it like a secure bank vault for that school district's data. So that's a way to envision it. So now that the data is coming into one central location, if your products use an application program interface, either EdFi or OneRoster, which is still out there and prevalent in some areas, that data will push directly from the source systems into that orange cylinder. And then it goes into the blue cylinder. That's the data warehouse. So we're offering data warehousing for services. We will do all the integrations for you. We'll connect all of your systems whenever you come onto the exchange. And we will work with all of your vendors and your third-party providers to get everything connected and tested and making sure the data flows properly. Which leads to the far right column. That is where your downstream use, which you'll see in the classroom, your reporting, your business intelligence, your dashboarding, so your visualizations, all of those products. That's where you would then have access to, much like Jeff was saying with Insights, of getting all that data in one location. We're also going to be working with all the testing providers, Cambium and everything else, to get all the data in there that you need to see and access in near real time, which means that data would be updated in the data warehouse within 24 hours. So early warning systems can be built off of this. We're planning on building a few of them. And with an early warning system, instead of waiting 18 to 24 months later, whenever you get your testing results and you see a campus goes from an A to a B and goes down, you can now have intervention. One of the key points to this is the ESC support that I mentioned earlier. The ESCs, if you give them permission, they would have disaggregate reports and data at their tooling in order to support you in real time as well. So there's a lot of benefits to that. Security. Huge thing that we're talking about here with the number of data, the amount of data that are going to reside in the cloud services with Amazon Web Services. It's a lot of data. And in fact, this was written into my grant requirements from TEA, from the commissioner. He wanted to see this as a huge focus moving forward. He saw it as an opportunity with us moving nearly all the services school districts use, ESCs use, and even TEA's applications that are moving to the Exchange platform, that we wanted to make sure the data is secure at all times. So with that data residing in the IODS and meeting the cybersecurity framework that will be established, that second bullet is very important for school districts to remember that it's your data. You have full ownership of your data at all times. We do not have access to your data if it's hosted in a cloud environment with AWS. It's your data unless you give us permission to have access to it to support you. So that's something that we need to make sure we talk about it all the time. And I see, I'm trying to see the way I'm going to phrase this here. When it comes to state reporting, I'm actually going to go back here. When it comes to state reporting, since TEA is setting up themselves an individual operational data store for every school district and ESC for reporting purposes, TSDS PIMS, what we were going to do is if you're a customer with the exchange, we're going to publish only your state reporting data, what TEA needs, from our orange cylinder to TEA's orange cylinder. Does that make sense? So instead of you using TEA's individual operational data store and having all of your source system data and all your data from, I bet your families, your students, and your staff, that would reside in our cloud environment and only the state reporting data would be pushed over when it comes down to submission time. Okay. Oh, I think it's Jennifer's up now.
I would like to introduce you to a few people we've got here on the screen. So we have Maria, Renee, and Leo, and they all have different roles for their campuses, for their districts. And it's important to talk about all three of these people, or all three of these characters that you see, because when we started looking into doing all of this work for the exchange, we wanted to ensure that we had the right information to back up the information we had heard from people, but we didn't want to work off of anecdotal information. So we set out to do research. And through our research, we sent out 20,000 surveys across the state, and that went to educators in all roles. We've talked with ESC level, we've talked with districts, we've spoken with boards, we've spoken with, you name it, we've probably spoken with somebody in that capacity. Nurses, registrars, teachers, everyone out there. Because we wanted to be sure that this product created a real solution. So with this cross-section of all of these educators and with those 20,000 surveys, we received several thousand back. We've also conducted focus groups. We've had a lot of work trying to ensure that this is something that's not just a Band-Aid. So these characters gave us a really good insight into what we wanted to build and what would make a difference for educators, because it's about them. It's not about what we think, it's about what you need. So with that research, we were also able to prioritize our first 4 use cases with the challenges that we continued to see over and over from so many educators across the state. So those solutions you can see highlighted over on the right-hand side. We're starting off with these 4 because they're, for a lack of better terms, biggest bang for the buck, right? The most people having the most problems with these challenges here. So the solutions we see, we've got an ODS health check, and Jerry was talking about that a little bit earlier, seeing some of those early warning systems, making sure that the information that is kept in that vault is correct. We don't want to have errored information, something that's a problem. Say we go to submit to the state for state reporting, and it's kicked back, or you lose money because something was wrong. In this scenario, that information would be checked, and you would know that ahead of time. So in the 11th hour, when you're scrambling to get that together, it's not wrong, or it's not a problem trying to dig through thousands, maybe millions of data points to find what that issue is. Second is a single pane view of student programs and services. And in this, I've heard Jerry refer to it this way, so I'm going to use it because I like it. Think of it as like a baseball card. So you've got a student, you want to see what's going on, you have a holistic picture of what's happening with that student. Right? You can see all of the information that's available to you. So if that's behavior, attendance, grades, extracurriculars, you get a full picture of what's happening. It's not just one piece of information in one application. It's all of those pieces of information all together in one place for you to be able to see and visualize what's happening, as opposed to picking a piece of information, plucking it from here and placing it somewhere else. It's already ready for you at your fingertips. So that's a really important piece for allowing educators to be able to make those decisions in the moment, as opposed to spending hours trying to track down that information and find out what's happening with Sally, because she's got some issue going on and you're not really sure if it has to do with what's happening in the class or maybe at home, but now you have a full picture of what's happening. Third is roster synchronization and integration across applications. And in this, we know that trying to get every student in the right place, the right time for the first few days, or any time probably during the year, is really hard. And all of those applications aren't talking to one another. So you don't know if that child has been dropped out of a class or is not in the right place at that time. So in this scenario, this gives us access more quickly to that information so that, say, Sally again, isn't sitting in a classroom without the right credentials, without a laptop, with no way to plug in and actually learn. Now she has everything she needs because the system is updated across applications and you have it right in front of you. And finally is portable student records. And we have a lot of big dreams for that one. But starting out, what we're looking for here is to ensure when you have a student who moves, people move. I've moved multiple times. So you have a student who moves from Houston to Austin, and that student, when they arrive, doesn't have the information that you need to best treat them. So whatever they need in the school system, on campus, to be successful, you don't have that information, and it could take 10 days to get that. So while you're waiting 10 days, what do you do with this student? What do you do to help them if you don't know what you need to be doing to help them? So in this scenario, we're hoping that that information is, if you saw I think we had no, that's later in that video. Sorry, I didn't show that part. We have the information, you could kind of think of it as being owned by that student. So it's a faster way to get this information so that we're not sitting and waiting 10 days, sitting on our hands trying to figure out what happens, but that when you get this student in your classroom or on your campus, you can access that information and there's no waiting period at that point. So I want to go back to Renee. She is a middle school math teacher, in case you were all wondering. I know you were, I can see it. Everybody's very excited about that. She loves data, because who doesn't in this room? She is very excited. She's an early adopter. She likes to get involved. She likes to find new solutions, and she thinks that data is what can really help her in the classroom. So a single pane view and having that access to her classroom as a holistic picture or to a student in her classroom as a holistic picture makes a huge difference for her, because now she can see a broader set of information to make that decision. She can see what's happening at that time and not have to look further back in time, a few weeks, a few days, who knows how long, to find that information and make assessments off of what has happened. She has it in front of her for what's happened more recently. It's timely, right? So this is something that she can make adjustments on the fly. She can see what's happening. And this also allows her to collaborate with other teachers on campus. Now they can talk about what's going on. Maybe there's an issue that has to be addressed more wholly with a broad set of students, or maybe there's just a way that they can learn from one another and advance their teaching practices in the classroom. And it creates a larger data culture on campus for her. Not to mention, now Renee has the ability to show Sally's mom what's going on in the classroom as well, or that holistic picture of what's happening with her, because she's got all of those visualizations that she can utilize to show the parents what's happening as well. So the other stakeholders are getting information and getting feedback from this as well.
Okay, so one of the big things of talking about data integration in this platform as a service is this will essentially save a lot of time and resources that a school district may have, or either with staff themselves or hiring a third-party contractor to come in and do some work for you, or paying your ESC. So this is a really good way in order to get that data efficiently into that one central location for use. I've already talked about wraparound services in part from the ESCs. If you have shared your data through a data privacy agreement with your ESC, they would have access to that data to support you. Well, those same tools and resources, of course, are available at the district. Those early warning systems, those visualizations, automated emails in order to tell you things that are going on with a classroom or with a student. So then that gives you that real-time information to provide some actionable assistance to that teacher. And then, of course, the beta options that are available and all of the software providers that are coming on board during the grant period, it's free for use for any school district to sign on board. And we have 10 districts, and I believe that's on one of the next slides. We have 10 districts that are in the beta right now. And that initial set of 10 for this first few months before we go into the second round of betas are giving us a whole lot of information related to discipline and attendance and special programs and services that they're providing, so we can help form the basis of the platform and the products that are coming out immediately. So the impact on this, I've already touched on this a little bit at the beginning. There's 20 ESC regions in the state. There's more than 1,200, I think the official number is 1,248 school districts that are currently in here in the state of Texas, including charter school districts. There's more than 9,000 campuses. I think it's roughly 9,200 and growing. And almost 5.6 million students. I mentioned Michigan, our friends in Michigan with the Michigan Data Hub. We have as many students in Region 4 as the entire state of Michigan, to give you some scope of the volume and the size and the complexity and everything that's involved. So. And we have a very ambitious timeline. TEA was very gracious in the grant monies that they gave us for this, because we knew that it was going to take a lot to get this built up in a very short amount of time. So we're currently in the beta phase 1 through this winter. We have 10 school districts of varying sizes. Our smallest is a charter school in San Antonio with a few hundred students. And our largest beta district is actually Austin ISD with over 74,000 students. So it's varying student information systems, or Power School and Skyward and eSchool Plus, and the Ascender product, which is primary in the state. We are going to expand that beta group coming into the spring. We're going to add roughly 40 Ascender school districts and another 50 of varying other student information system providers, and those with priority on if you're using Eduphoria or DMAC or One Data Suite, Parent Square communication systems, things like that. We're going to do a full inventory to try to get as many of those source systems connected and integrated during the beta period. By fall of this year, it's available for every school district. So starting in September, every school district in the state can sign on to to the exchange. I was about to say Insights, but Insights is available too through a grant right now. So there's no charge to the districts, including the implementation, the onboarding training. It's all available for you. And in fact, we're working on, I think Jeff mentioned earlier, some white glove services. We're working on some white glove services tailored for ESCs to provide support to you in that parallel year as TEA is moving to the new state reporting. So there's a lot of unknowns about that. It's a whole new technology. So we see there's advantages with the exchange platform in helping with that. And then by fall of 2024, I'd hope to extend that further out. There might be some options for that. I'm looking into that. But that's when districts would need to start paying for the exchange platform. We don't have pricing yet for that. We're still working through the business model. What does it look like? How much is it going to cost for hosting and all the software licenses? But we will have that by summer of this year, more than likely by the first part of June, if not sooner, what the price will look like. It's going to be a very low cost. It's probably going to be a base fee amount and up to a certain enrollment size, and after that it's a scaled down per student cost. But then if you pair it with CCMR Insights, as Jeff mentioned with the return on investment, with the Insights product, that more than pays for the Insights product and the exchange and a number of other systems that you're probably using at your district. Coupled with the fact that we know that there are going to be things that we have inherently built into the exchange platform and the product that will negate your use for using something else. So it's more than likely going to be an expense swap, if that makes sense. That's it. We invite everybody to go to the Exchange website, tx@exchange.net. We rolled out the version 2 of that website a few weeks ago, and we're getting a lot of traffic there. We now have our Twitter and LinkedIn accounts set up. And then we've also invited everybody, if you're wanting to learn more about EdFi and the technology standard, we invite you. We have a link to go to EdFi 101. And we'd like to now open it up for any questions that you might have regarding Insights or the Exchange platform.
That was a fun walk. Well, thanks so much, Jerry. This was super helpful. So I'm from Fremont, California, an education management system for districts. We focus primarily on SEL data and extracurriculars and community service. So for future potential vendors that want to integrate with the API, what are your suggestions around just continuing to monitor what you guys are doing? Because obviously districts still would love to see the overlay of students' success outside of the classroom and also the accomplishments. Yeah, would love to just communicate your advice.
Yeah, those are things that we're also evaluating. Right now it's limited to K-12 in the state, and as I mentioned with cybersecurity earlier, something I didn't talk about, there'll be the minimum set of technical requirements for a vendor to be able to connect to the platform, but then there'll be that minimum set of cybersecurity standards and framework that they would have to meet. So as long as that vendor or the product that the school district is using, or with us with a strategic partnership, we have some other nonprofit agencies where they have dashboards that they've created for tools for school districts that we're partnering with them to get them on the platform. So as long as they meet those requirements, we'll do everything in our power to get it on that for use for the districts. It's meeting the needs. I mean, much like the survey research that we did, the market research, we want to build a product that people want to use and it's beneficial to them, not just here's 500 dashboards, have fun sort of thing, which is not bad, but we want to make sure it's very specific and focused to the needs of the district. So yeah, those are things that we're looking at. We're going to expand to pre-K eventually and higher ed, private schools. There's a lot of opportunity and options available for districts. So, any other questions? Yes.
Hi, so my name is Dolaya. I am a student from Carnegie Mellon University, but before this I I have been working in education in Thailand, and what you said here was exactly what I had been through in the previous professional experience, except that my experience was not successful because I found that it was so difficult to make every party to give data or access to data to others, and even though they might not use it, but because data seems to be something valuable and they're scared, I'm not sure, so it's very hard. So I just want to know, it sounds easy here, it sounds smooth here, so I just want to know how you do it.
That's a very good question. Thank you. It's been 5 years in the progress. It's 6 years. Sean's nodding his head. Sean Casey from EdFi. He's the first person I talked to about this 5 years ago. I said, I have this idea. How can we make it happen? Much like the support model and partnering with the other 4 largest ESCs in the state to start getting things going and up and built. After the grant period's over, all the ESCs can join. It takes the process and the time to build those relationships with the vendors as well, and relying on other states who have done these in part because if a vendor has gone through the process with Michigan or South Carolina or Indiana or California and Common Core out there, that they already know. It's not a surprise to them. They know what's required on their end, and so it's just developing those relationships and building them up. And that's also sounds simple. It is. It just takes a while and it takes time and dedication and perseverance and persistence in getting through to people.
It also helps when TEA says you're going to use EdFi in 2 years.
Yeah, there's also that too. We're trying not to use the hammer. We're using more of the carrot. When I talk to vendors and partners, it's more like, well, this is the opportunity for you. If you want to expand your product, then you now have access to more data if you're a strategic partner with us. So there's advantages to those vendors in coming on board too. Well, for that school district, so they would have access to all for that school district, they'd have access to all the student and staff data so they can do enhancements to their product. They may have had an idea for something else. Well, they'll have access to assessment scores and other testing data available to that district now that they didn't have before. I think somebody back here, did you have a question? Yes.
Hi, thank you. My name is Christy. I have better also a professional learning company helping districts work with teachers. I am in marketing and I love data, and I'm curious if you guys have any attribution aspects where a district hires a professional learning company and they do this cohort of teachers, or they add additional technology supports to this classroom, and you can tag the classrooms that receive that additional support or resources, how at the end of the year you can see how the numbers change or year over year how it changes.
That's also something else that's in the roadmap. It's possibilities. Again, all the data's there. As long as we get all the testing and assessment vendors and the special population programs connected to it, all the data's there. So again, it goes back to, I was talking about that strong foundation and looking to the future. Possibilities are endless. So I've seen, not physically, but I've seen a lot of light bulbs go off in meetings when I'm having these discussions at districts and at ESCs, and they're like, so wait, now you're telling me that I can put this data and this data, and they're naming off 5 and 6 different things into one location, and I can build a report and a early warning notification system about this. And I'm like, yeah, in theory, yes, you can. And they're like, that sounds too good to be true. And I was like, that's kind of the whole idea. So we're turning everything on its head when it comes to data and interoperability and how we view and use data. So
are you finding that a lot of schools are open to this information sharing, or is there any restrictions for that transfer?
That's also a very good question. There was been a long-standing assumption, especially in Region 4, that school districts don't want to share that data. It's too private, which ultimately with TSDS and PEMS and state reporting, we already have access to that data. We don't look at it. We have no reason to. So for those in the beta, sending the data privacy agreement out to them, we're using the national standard of that DPA. and they're signing it. They see the benefits, in particular sharing the data with the ESCs. They see how they can get more and real-time support, and just a whole plethora of resources available. So, yes. People have generally been very excited about it. When we're reaching out to individuals, much like the market research and focus groups, you try to find out what that individual's pain point in the classroom is, because they might have something that nobody else does, and this gives solutions to very individual needs. So, other questions? So I encourage you, think about your data pain points at your district, at your campuses, your instructional leaders, and if your vendors in the room, be thinking about ways that you can have access to data and improve things for your customers in the school districts. And I see this as, given the size of this, it's more than just taking a village to move things along. It's taken a national effort. There's so many agencies and foundations and organizations and nonprofits involved with this, because everybody's wanting, even some that are donating their time, they're not even wanting to get charged. Not wanting to get anything from me. They're volunteering their time because they want to move this and get this moving forward. So it's very exciting for the country. And I think we have the opportunity and potential to do amazing things for school districts. All right, any other questions? Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for your time. Feel free to take a pen in the back and check out our website. And if you have any questions, email us and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.